Welcome, front runner family. I'm joined by Velile Mnyandu. We'll be looking at the World Cup qualifier, South Africa versus Zimbabwe, taking place in Harare. Now, Veza, this is Hugo Bruce's first match officially in charge of Bafana Bafana. There's very little room for error.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. I think since he was appointed in May, we've been waiting for this moment, and not only where he'll be sitting on the bench, but also taking the boys through their paces, preparing them. I also understand that the training sessions this week have been very intense. Yesterday, they wrapped up their preparations here at home, and they left for Harare, as you know, that they're playing tomorrow evening. So they will have a match day -1 training session this afternoon in Harare. Obviously, we are playing the game during COVID times, and I think it goes for even in other sporting codes or anywhere, you know, that especially those who have been traveling, because when it comes to COVID, you find that most of the time it's through the traveling around. So it was not really a surprise that someone who comes from Europe is the one who tested positive in the case of Tibang Pete. So that's the situation.
Okay, Kudumela as well, testing positive there. So now, what have you made of Hugo Bruce's squad? You know, it looks like a blend of youth and experience.
Look, it was to be expected because one of the first things that he said when he was introduced was the issue of the age in the squad. And as you know, especially for a team that is being refreshed, you know, we've always been talking about this, that at some stage the team will need to be refreshed. So it was not really surprising that also as soon as the current, in fact, the Olympic team is done with their program for Tokyo, that the majority of the guys will form part of the senior national team. And this time, not just to make up numbers in the senior national team or just to be there and observe, but to play a leading role. And I think I'm not surprised that I think even when we see the starting lineup tomorrow, I expect possibly maybe 3 or 4 players from who are at the Olympics to be in the team. So it's not really a surprise there. And the COSAFA Cup as well, the success of it is informed by what he saw there too. But also when I look at the squad, because also there are players who've been in the AFCON qualifiers as well. When I look at the squad, there's not too many changes when you compare to the players who've been there before. You know, I think when I counted the last time, I counted about 6 or 7 or 5 or 6 players who were not in the squad, but who were in the World Cup, in fact, who were in the AFCON qualifiers. But also, you know, the issue of national team collapse, it will always be also a subjective one, where people will feel that so-and-so should have been here. I mean, if we were 10 and you have to select the squad, it will always look different. Even if now I can say, let's come up with our starting lineups, it will be different, you know. But I also do think that the national team coach, Hugo Bruce, and his assistant, especially Sedomir, they have not watched enough local football to also comprehend in terms of who is supposed to be there and who's not there. Because if now I have to use my own opinion as well, someone like Rivaldo, it's a no-brainer, you know. He really fits everything that this national team is all about, you know. But let's give the coach time. Surely, I'm sure when we talk about the next matches, which will be the game against Ethiopia, as he said himself, that this is not the final squad and a lot could still change, you know. So now let's look at the project that he started, the players that he selected, and then we take it from there.
Okay, cool. Now, Bafana Bafana has new leadership at the helm. What have you made of Ronan Williams and Cressida were captain and vice captain respectively.
Yeah, yeah, Ash, you know, this one was a bit emotional around it because at an event which was organized by our late friend Tulani Tuswa, you know, that's where we spoke to Pesitao about the captaincy of Bafana, and he was very clear that no, not for him, you know. And I'm sure even now maybe the coach tried to give it to him, and Pesi was you know, so maybe it's also a compromise that he will take the vice captaincy, you know, but not really a surprise because if also you look at, as I was saying, there's a continuation of Bafana players who've been there before. There are players who are coming from the Olympics. And at the Olympics, these players, one of the senior players there was Ronan Williams, you know. So he is able to, you know, to bring in those young ones who are coming in, but also at the same time, he's continuing with others who are coming from the old Bafana team. You know what I mean? So for me, not really a surprise with these two appointments, because it also means that in the case if Ronwen doesn't play and if Velile was playing, Percy will wear the armband. You know, so here I'm not really surprised. You know, looking at who is there. I know that people are saying a lot of things about Ronwen, but look, he remains one of the best goalkeepers today in the country, you know. And also sometimes, you know, people will always talk, but we've got to look beyond that stage and focus on what matters most.
True. Patriotism. Okay, cool. Now, Dr. Denis Jordan has said that Bruce's mandate is to qualify for AFCON 2023 and the World Cup in 2026. Does it put less pressure on him to do well in these qualifiers? A little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does. And also, it doesn't mean that he must not qualify, you know. It doesn't mean that it must not qualify, but it means the project in a comfortable space, you know, and doesn't have to look over his shoulder. I mean, this one, Fidel, just like 4 months ago, we couldn't qualify to a 24 team AFCON. And now, must we say by hook or crook, we must be part of those top 5 nations, you know? So it's and we know our predicaments. We know the situation that we find ourselves in, you know. So I think at this stage, and also if you look at the proximity of the qualifiers as well, next year we'll also be starting the qualifiers for the AFCON 2023. You know, so in terms of, because you know I was watching some of the qualifiers yesterday. I watched Egypt against Angola late at night, you know, some intense games. I mean, if you look at the game between Libya and Gabon, that was another intense game, you know. So here you are talking about these 10 groups where there are 40 teams and only the group winners are going through, you know, and there those group winners will play against each other, and only 5 out of that, you know. I'm not saying we cannot win our group, you know, and bear in mind in our group we're the only team that is not going to the AFCON, you know. So I think this one just calls for being realistic, you know, calls for being realistic and looking at our situation as it is, which is unfortunate for me. It's still a hard pill to swallow that will not be at a 24 team AFCON, you know. If we're at that AFCON, I would say that we must qualify for the World Cup.
Okay, now let's move on. We're facing the Warriors of Zimbabwe, who have players like Musona, Kama Biliat, Divine Lungu, Marshall Munetsi, who was playing against Messi when Messi made his debut for PSG. What do you expect from the Warriors?
You know, football fans are hypocrites. you know. Or maybe let's qualify it and say some football fans are hypocrites. You know, I was watching how some Pirates fans are praising it. When Musa was playing for Pirates, they were calling him a cow and this and this and that. You know, you know. So I was like, seriously, this is the same guy you're calling a cow. But look, I think the boy, since he got there, he's been just at another level. You know, it's just been another level. His football is suiting Ligue A. You can tell that even the people who are scouting him. I remember I had an interview with him in his room in Cairo at the AFCON, interviewing him and Talent Chawapiwa, you know, and he was also talking about how the guys who signed him told him how they've been following him in the CAF Champions League with Pirates and also in the AFCON qualifiers. I think it was AFCON qualifiers for 2019 with Zimbabwe. So, you know, and I've watched a couple of his matches. I think that was the 4th or 5th game that I was watching of him playing for Stade Rams, you know. So I've been very impressed. You can see he fits there, and also remember he's a player who can play in 2 different positions. He can play at centre back, and also he plays as a central defensive midfielder as well. But what has impressed more with him, the runs, he makes a lot of runs to the box in Ligue A. You know, I remember there was one game where he provided an assist, you know, and it was a quality assist that he provided. So I think for me, it also talks about the hunger as well that they've got, and also the importance of the CAF interclub competitions, you know. So I really have to say that I've been very impressed with him. And coming to the Zim Warriors team, what a team. I mean, if you look at that squad, it's a pity that they couldn't get some of the players, especially those who are based in the UK, the likes of Marvelous Nakamba. You look at also a number of players who are playing in the championship as well. And they've got players at Wigan, you know, players at different clubs in the championship. So they can't get those players for obvious reasons, because here in Southern Africa, we've been red listed, you know. Yeah, they say we're in the red zone there. So they can't get those. But I was counting about 12 players currently playing in the PSL. As you know, when we say the PSL, we talk about the Premier Division and the National First Division. And in total, I think I counted about 17 to 18 players who have also played. Overall, players who've played or who are playing here. You know, when we look at the likes of Knowledge Musona, remember they also couldn't get Teenage Debe, you know, because he's based in the US as well now. He left Turkey, the former Kaizer Chiefs defender. So, but still, their attack is just something else.
Yeah, it's scary. It's very scary.
Yeah. It's a different Zimbabwe to the Zimbabwe that it was. Yeah, you just look at attack. Zubamanja, Knowledge Musona, one of the players that I felt, and I've seen him playing in the COSAFA. This was before he was even signed by the teams in I think he first went to Belgium. Kadewere is now playing for Olympic Lyon.
Tino Kadewere.
Yes, and it's surprising how Zimbabwe has overtaken us in terms of having players in top leagues, top clubs. You know, it's this thing calls for reflection.
They go early,
and I'm saying this fully aware. Yeah, they go early, but Nakamba didn't go early. Kadewere didn't go early. Kadewere was playing here in the COSAFA Cup here in South Africa, you know. So I think it's about seizing the opportunity. It's about seizing the opportunity for me. But I just think that there's a strong, also South African link. As I'm saying, 12 players playing here, and also overall, I think there's about 16 players who've played here or who are playing here in this current team. So it makes it a real derby, this one.
No, true, Visa. Because I'm looking at Marvelous Nakamba's journey. He started at Bantu Rovers. From there, he went to France, Nancy, like since 2012. From there, he went to Vitesse. From there, he went to Bruges. Now he's at Aston Villa. But I guess it speaks of mentality,
mentality
of staying, of making sure that you stay there and you fight and you.
Yes, so that's why I'm saying these are not players who started in academies in Europe. You understand? These are players who played locally. You understand? Played in the COSAFA junior tournaments. I mean, if we were to talk about, I was talking to Walter Steinbock the other day. If we were to talk about Betson Daka, talk about Inoku Mwepu.
Yes, I remember them.
Yes, these are players who are playing here in Rustenburg.
COSAFA under 20.
And in Rustenburg, they are playing against the Luther. Exactly, they were playing against the Tebukhomukonas. So
look at where they are now.
Also remember, after coming back from South Korea in the Under 20 World Cup, they moved straight to Europe.
True.
Unlike us.
Yeah, they went to Austria.
Our boys, and it's not to say our boys. Yes, and it's not to say that our boys didn't have offers. The boys did have offers, but
the Premier League doesn't let go of its talent. Okay, we will keep it there. The podcast lives. We'll break it down there. Okay, cool. Now, does it make it easier for Hugo Broos? Not necessarily easier, but makes his job of scouting Zimbabwe a bit easier. Knowing that a bulk of the players in that squad play in the PSL. He can see them. I know you can see, football matches on television, but when you go to the stadiums, you get a different view.
Yeah, I think at this level, with all the sports science that's there, with all the technology that's there, especially when it comes to analysis and all those things, it's just about finer margins, there is nothing is because teams, but I think here the main issue in this game is how the players themselves know each other. They understand each other's strengths and weaknesses 100%, and we know that Kama Billiard remains one of the best players in the PSL, and he's coming up against, let's say he'll come up against Kulu and maybe Roshin Durek, those are the players. He scored against a Sundowns team that had Roshin. You understand? So in how you look at it, that's how you must look at this. So that understanding and is going to be key. And also there's some serious rivalry, as I'm saying, because these are neighboring countries, so there's just too little to separate, it's not that much to separate. There's not that much to separate for me when I look at Bafana Bafana and Zimbabwe this week. In fact, on paper, I think Zimbabwe even has a stronger squad.
Tight margins indeed. I won't ask you for a prediction, but as we wrap up, Ronwen Williams, speaking to the media, had said that Hugo Broos indicated that the national team's mentality wasn't strong, because he says they went to Sudan looking for a draw under tough conditions, but they couldn't come back with a draw.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point there. And also remember, Hugo Bruce, this is his second World Cup qualification. He had participated in the first World Cup qualification with Cameroon. Unfortunately, they were not successful there. And they went to that qualification as African champions, if you remember. So we're not talking about a coach who is new in that space. You know, he fully understands what he's talking about. You know, on the African continent, you need coaches. If somebody is going to Kampala, they know what to do if they want to get a point or 3 points in Kampala. If they are going to Ouagadougou, they must know what to do and what to get there. If they are going to Kinshasa, same story. You know, if they are going to Algiers or they are going to Rades, they must know what to do. You know, and this for me has always been that one element that we're lacking in South Africa, and this is something that someone like Coach Pitso Mosimane over the years has gotten to master. You know, understanding what to do and what not to do when you get into a different area. Sometimes in other areas you don't really have to go all out for the maximum points. If you're getting maximum points, it must be a smash and grab situation. So that's what is important here, and I think this is also one of the situations that Hugo Bruce was talking about, and fortunately, in Ronwen Williams and some of the players in the team, these are players who've been there. But it's just that this week there's going to be a lot of testing as well, because the coach is new with the team, and some combinations are also new as well, especially in the midfield. For me, that's where I felt not strong enough. But let's see what they can build out of this.
Okay, thank you, Velile Mnyandu. We will leave it there for now.
No, let's leave it there for now, but let's wait and see on how things will go, because I think the Zim Warriors are gonna come all out, but I think we've got their number.